Is becoming old a physical process or a mental one? There's this scene from the Simpsons cartoon where Grandpa Simpson begins reminiscing about the past with the expression, "in my day," and then moments later his head falls back, mouth hangs open and drool spills out, and he falls asleep mid-sentence. Now, at what point does that start happening to us? That urge to start using that expression, "in my day." Does it come when we start to feel that all modern music, movies and fashion are all rubbish? If you find yourself thinking that things were better in my day or in the old days, there's a chance it's already started to happen. You are becoming old, you are becoming Grandpa Simpson. So how do we stop ourselves from becoming old? The antidote is to stay relatively open-minded and to keep an impartial interest in new trends, styles, books and fashion. You do not need to adopt them. It would be quite incongruent for you to adopt someone else's fashion, like a 40-year-old dad who starts wearing hip-hop pants, baseball cap backwards, and new trainers. You should always keep your own identity and your own preferences. As the musician Paul Simon writes, every generation throws a hero up the pop charts. Every generation has its pop stars. But have you wondered why certain stars never seem to go out of fashion, whereas others fade away after their early fame? People like Madonna and David Bowie, who managed to remain at the forefront of music for decades. The reason is that they worked at it. Though they may have aged physically, they remained young mentally by adopting curiosity and continuous interest in all these new types of genres and music around them. They learned from them, experimenting with these new styles and kept reinventing themselves. In this way, they remained young. Staying curious and open to new things is related to aging. Some people become set in their ways and become old at a certain age. They no longer care about new things, and it is at that point that you could arguably say they became old. Age is a mental thing just as much as a physical thing. It can also be considered a state of mind. You can have an old state of mind just as much as you can have an old state of body. You can have a young body and an old state of mind, or an old body and a young state of mind. It has been recognized that some people die just a few years after retiring. It is as though once a person retires, they mentally tell themselves that they are old, and everything that one associates with being old, that is the idea of reduced strength, degeneration, disease, and even death, then becomes a reality. Yet, there's very little physical difference between a person at the age of 65 and 66. So why should some people suddenly move closer to becoming older and closer to death in that short time period? In fact, at age 65, a lot of people are still in reasonably good health and have many years of work and life left in them. In the world today, a great many people still work productive lives well into their 70s and 80s, and sometimes even older. It could be argued that work keeps a person young. Potentially, a person at 65 could have another good productive 10 years of their life left. And even if you didn't want to work a job anymore, there is still the time to pursue a hobby, a new type of work, create a new business, or even to backpack around the world. However, this does depend on certain factors. At age 65, if you have spent your life eating excessively, sitting excessively, and indulging heavily in not-so-good habits, and you have a body that reflects these lifestyle changes, then yes, at age 65 you may indeed be old. At age 65, though the body may still have the potential of several more productive years, if you have not looked after it well, this potential is reduced. And without the discipline and stimulation of work, then it may start to deteriorate more quickly. Hence, a person dies shortly after retirement. Fortunately, there are steps to reduce this. It is not just about keeping a young mental state, but keeping active and watching your eating and other habits. Look at Jack LaLanne for an extreme example. In his 90s, he was still enthusiastic about physical training. The body goes through the cycle of yin and yang. Yang is about growth, expansion, and activity. Youth is synonymous with yang. Youth is the yang phase. Yin is about conservation, moderation, and contemplation. Becoming older and wiser is the yin phase of life. But this does not mean that we should stop work and activity and lie down all day. There is still yang to our yin. We may not be able to work as hard as a young person, but we can work smarter. We may not be able to move as fast, but we can move more efficiently. In some ways, a yin person can actually be more physically stronger, wiser, and emotionally maturer than a younger person. And this is especially the case for someone at retirement age. There is no better example than in Japan, in the field of traditional Oriental medicine, where many acupuncturists still practice well into their 70s or 80s and teach students all around the world. People like Kodo Fukushima, Shudo Denmei, or Mr. Taniguchi. As we approach our later yin years, it is a good time to adopt healthy practices to help keep our bodies stronger. This is a good time to start the practice of the soft internal Oriental arts like Tai Chi or Qigong, which are very helpful for arthritis, the immune system, and the mood. Swimming, yoga, and also walking are very good. This is a great time to start a new hobby or start a new business even. It is also traditionally the time to do more inner work, to connect with your spirituality, to take meditation practice deeper. Old age is the most yin part of a person's life. It is the time to build a greater connection with the greater yin of the universe. There is one factor to caution against. There is this idea of partying the later years and spending the kids' inheritance. This old "I hope I die before I get old" mentality. This mindset is problematic and stems from the ego, which struggles with the idea that we are going to get old, so we must pretend to be young and that life is a never-ending party. This is a yang approach in the fundamental yin time of life. We must remember that we are still part of a generational cycle with obligations to those ahead of us as well as those behind us, even if we may never know them. The next time you feel the urge to criticize the music your children are listening to, and then to say, "in my day," just imagine yourself with your head hung backwards, your mouth hanging open, drool dripping out, and yourself falling asleep mid-sentence. Then you may want to consider saying that. Instead, it may be time to explore what's popular at the moment with younger people, to observe and learn and keep your mind fresh. You don't have to follow what you find, but be curious about what's going on around you. By doing so, you may be able to add 10 years to your life. If you would like to learn more about Genki Health, check out this book, The Genki Self-Health Guide. Improve your body and mind with traditional Oriental medicine.